Chapter 929. Everybody came to congratulate him. 6. What did you just call her? Mu Ling turned his head gingerly. He stared at Lei Yun blankly. It seemed as if he was struck by lightning. She's my manor lady. Lei Yun smiled happily. He sounded polite. All the air seemed to disappear around Mu Ling. He felt like he could not breathe anymore. His face turned red. Was Feng Ruching the manor lady of Fengyun clan? Did Fengyun clan not just use slightly over a decade to become so powerful that they were only slightly weaker than the three major influences? It was impossible. That was definitely impossible. Han Feng had investigated her identity before. She was only a royal princess from the secular world. She did not even come from the reclusive world. Luo Li became calmer after listening to what Lei Yun had said. She assumed that Suyi had given Feng Ruching up and had chosen the manor lady from Fengyun clan instead. It appeared now that Lady Suyi was well aware of Feng Ruching's identity long ago. That engagement would be proper and well suited. My grandson is going to marry soon. It's wonderful. The old master clapped his hands and laughed ecstatically. I trust your insight, Suyi. You have only judged Mu Ling wrongly. You always have good insight. Haha. My grandson is all grown up now. Finally, he's going to have a wife. Xiao Qingyan, when are you going to get married? Mu Qingyan coughed softly. Father, I have told you. I cannot ruin the lives of other innocent girls. Read more chapter on Novelful. I don't care. You must marry. Otherwise, I won't eat or drink from now on. Let me starve to death, the old master said in a huff. Mu Qingyan's lips twitched. If you are using hunger strike to threaten me, could you please stop eating that pig's trotters while you're making that claim? Who would believe what you have just said if you're doing that? At that moment, another sound was heard in the dark of the night. It soon broke the silence of the banquet hall. Guardian Fenglan from Paramount. I have come to congratulate the old master on his birthday. Paramount. All of them were shocked. They turned toward the entrance, suspiciously. Me for extra chapters. It appears that the young master from Paramount is from Deity's Gate. Why are the people from Deity's Gate coming to congratulate old Master Mu on his birthday? He's working for young Master Ju Ming, too. Moreover, Paramount's business is really good now. It's quite popular. Although it is opened in the secular world, young Master Ju Ming's identity is special. They also sell effective herbal dishes. Paramount has become famous all over the mainland. However, we have only heard of the young master from Paramount but have never met the owner. Doesn't Paramount's owner come from Deity's Gate too? Someone like young Master Ju Ming would bow down to anybody else other than the people from Deity's Gate. Feng Ruching gazed at Fenglan, who was advancing toward them under the moonlight. She had an uneasy feeling. She subconsciously retreated a few steps and stood behind Nanxian. Fenglan soon saw Feng Ruching's awkward retreat. She laughed softly. She had a feeling that the princess would not give the young master up so easily this time. Old master. Fenglan took light steps toward the old master. We're here to deliver you some gifts from Paramount. Come and bring them up. Yes. The palace maids behind Fenglan lined up in rows. Every palace maid carried in their hands a box storing the spirit herb. Spirit herbs were considered rather rare and special in the mainland. Thus, everyone would consider giving spirit herbs as gifts. It was the same situation for Paramount, which was famous for selling spirit herbs. The people from the Mu family were deeply shocked. They stared at the boxes and gulped in nervousness. They were stunned. Chapter 930. Everyone came to congratulate him. 7. Fenglan was aware of the peeping glances, but she just smirked as if she did not care about them at all. These spirit herbs are prepared by Paramount only for Old Master. In another word, the rest of the Mu family members were not entitled to even a bit of it. Everyone's smile faded, awkwardly. Why did this message sound similar to Fengyun clan's? On behalf of my father, I sincerely thank young Master Ju Ming. Mu Ling shot a fierce glance at those Mu family members who were eyeing the gift hungrily before turned his focus to Fenglan. He softened his voice when he said, Since Paramount has already emphasized that these spirit herbs are solely for my father, I think everyone else has understood it well. These past few years, the Mu family had provided Old Master with many precious spirit herbs, so Mu Ling did not care about these spirit herbs. He only cared about the spirit water in the Old Master's possession. Feng Lan smiled softly and said, "These spirit herbs are not given by the young master." Mu Ling was stunned. Not Ju Ming. Who else could take this much of spirit herbs from Paramount and send them to other people as gifts? Since it isn't from the young master, the only person who has such access must be Paramount's owner. Nobody had heard about Paramount's owner, although they were aware that the person must be someone from Deity's Gate who was ranked higher than Ju Ming. However, none of them had ever seen the clan master before, so everyone was curious about this person. Mu Ling was shocked after listening to Feng Lan's revelation. His eyes filled with confusion. Paramount's owner? The Mu family and Paramount were never on friendly terms. Why did Paramount's owner send such precious spirit herbs to the old master? Read more chapter on novelful. Feng Lan turned to Feng Ruqing, slowly. When Feng Ruqing noticed Feng Lan's presence, she had that feeling of uncertainty that made her feel uneasy, especially when Feng Lan mentioned Paramount's owner. Her head was going to explode from the sudden shock. Ju Ming. How dare this bastard play a prank on her? Our owner is young Master Nanxian's fiancé, so it's only proper for Paramount to send a present to the old master for his birthday. If this incident had happened in the past, Mu Ling would definitely have been delighted and would even have forced Nanxian to marry Paramount's owner. However, too many things had happened on the same day in addition to Fengyun clan's presence at the beginning, so Mu Ling felt his heart skipped a beat after Feng Lan was done talking. He followed Feng Lan's gaze and saw the exquisite and attractive beauty. Me for extra chapters. His handsome face suddenly went pale. Mu Ling trembled and clenched his fists, helplessly. Feng Ruqing. Why was it Feng Ruqing again? She was Fengyun Manor's young lady as well as Paramount's owner. How could he say something so foolish like demolishing Paramount? If he knew that Feng Ruqing was Paramount's owner, he would not have had to try so hard to bring Paramount down. The divine physician belonged to Paramount. As a clan master, Feng Ruqing could easily order a physician to treat people, which was an easy task for her, but must he look trouble with Feng Ruqing in the first place? Mu Ling trembled even harder. To him, it was not a surprise. Not even a little excitement. He would rather someone else be Paramount's owner instead of Feng Ruqing. His relationship with her had turned sour and they were in the worst situation now. The rest of the people noticed Feng Lan's glance as well, so everyone turned to Feng Ruqing. Would you believe me if I say that I don't know her? Everyone was silent. Chapter 931. Everyone came to congratulate him. 8 Haha. You don't know her? If you do not know her, would she dare to claim that you're Paramount's owner? They had never seen someone who would insist on giving this honorable title to other people. Why would Feng Lan insist on forcing this title onto Feng Ruqing but not someone else? Master, Feng Lan smiled genuinely and said, young Master Ju Ming has mentioned before that Paramount was founded because of Empress Nalan. As her daughter, the position of Paramount's owner naturally belongs to you. When you claimed that you do not know me, it really hurt my feelings. Have you forgotten about our memories together in the palace the other day? Nanxian's body emitted a faint vicious aura and he seemed to have grown tense. A hint of coldness flashed in his eyes as he looked at Feng Lan expressionlessly. Feng Lan was not bothered by Nanxian's murderous stare. When she saw that Feng Ruqing did not respond to her, she chuckled and continued, Master, you usually accept any beautiful woman who runs into your embrace. Why do you treat me coldly? Why? Don't you know the reason? Feng Ruqing cursed, silently. She had helped Ju Ming to prank her. She had not paid for that. Chinga, Nanxian circled Feng Ruqing's waist with his arm and said, once we go back, you must change all of your female guards to men. Why? Because, Nanxian hesitated but continued with a serious expression, allowing them to stay by your side will affect their chances of getting married. Read more chapter on novelful. Feng Ruqing could somehow sense that the way Nanxian uttered his request was a bit awkward and timorous. However, Nanxian did not make it obvious and had managed to portray himself in a flawless manner. He still looked gorgeous and stunning as usual. Suyi could not refrain herself from clearing her throat. Nanxian could actually just go straight to the point. Affecting the girl's chances of getting married? Although it was part of the truth, since when was Nanxian concerned about other people's marriage? It was actually due to the attention that Qing'e was receiving from the women, as they were too fond of her and she had never rejected their kindness and love. That was why women were serious threats to him compared to men. Gui had managed to sneak in when those people arrived at the scene. Once the words reached her ears, she puffed up and exclaimed, "I will go back and tell Xiao Yin that you want to chase us away from Xiao Qing so you can have her to yourself. Xiao Qing, please do not believe a single word from this vixen. He has done this on purpose." Me for extra chapters. Oh, Feng Ruqing suddenly realized something and muttered, but the state preceptor must have his own reason. Otherwise, why aren't Tang Zi and the other girls married yet? Gui's eyes widened in shock. How could Xiao Qing believe these ridiculous excuses from Nanxian's mouth? Feng Ruqing frowned as she thought before muttering, "Wait until I am back. I will start with the iron-blooded troop to make sure my girls get married before they can return to my side." Contentment flashed through Nanxian's handsome face after hearing Feng Ruqing's words. The corners of his mouth curved up. He could not help but smile, and it was a genuine one. Nanxian was known as someone who hardly smiles. When Gui saw a gentle smile plastered at his face, she felt that he was provoking her. She cried out in frustration and hurried away into the dark of the night like a big, spoiled child. Feng Ruqing was surprised by her sudden tantrum as she turned to Nanxian with a confused look. "What's wrong with Yi?" Nanxian replied with expressionlessly, "Perhaps she has a stomachache." At this moment, Jiyusha felt sorry for his beloved daughter for the very first time. His daughter was such an innocent girl and was, undoubtedly incomparable to Nanxian, this cunning vamp. Why she not just get married to an ordinary guy? Must she fight with Nanxian over a woman? She would never win against Nanxian either in an argument or a fight. In fact, she was not a match when it came to Nanxian's manipulative skill. Why must she torture herself like that? Chapter 932. Everyone came to congratulate him. 9 Nanxian. Mu Ling was pulled back to reality. Instead of putting on his usual deadpan face, the corners of his mouth twitched and lit up before he managed to utter in a calm voice, "Since you are back now, why don't you stay at the Mu family's?" Bang! The moment he stepped toward Nanxian, Nanxian suddenly raised his hand and gave him a blow straight to his chest. Mu Ling was pushed back by 2 steps as he was not expecting the assault. His face turned ghastly pale and he was stunned for a few seconds before he managed to suppress his anger. It was he who had asked for a favor, so he must endure everything for now. "Father." Mu Huan clenched her fists tightly. "Nanxian has just attacked you and Feng Ruqing has injured me. They must explain for themselves." "You shut up." Mu Ling frowned slightly, looking at her foolish antics. Since when has his daughter become like Mu Shi, who was not clever enough to observe the current situation? Not only was Feng Ruqing the house lady of Fengyun clan, but she was also Paramount's owner. Looking at the current situation, he could only depend on Feng Ruqing in order to treat his erectile dysfunction. Mu Huan's snow-white complexion face went red after being scolded in front of everyone. "Huana." Chen Qingyang quickly pulled Mu Huan's hand and shook her head. "Your father has his own reason that he cannot speak about." Erectile dysfunction was indeed something that he could not speak about openly. However, they did consult Grandmaster Hai Rong before. They did not reveal the whole story but had told him that one of Mu Ling's brothers had been poisoned, so he had ended up with erectile dysfunction. Grandmaster Hai Rong had managed to identify the poison from the mouth. He had also mentioned that the only cure was the Golden Dragon's blood essence. However, the Golden Dragon's existence was just a myth, so Mu Ling had been targeting Paramount. Why must it happen to be Feng Ruqing? Why must Paramount's owner be her? Me for extra chapters. In the past, she had lost to Suyi, then Mu Shi was literally pinned under her son. In the end, even her son-in-law could not match hers. Chen Qingyan's heart sank. A hint of coldness and cloud flashed in her eyes, but it disappeared without a trace as quickly as it appeared. "Xiana." Mu Ling spoke with a softer tone. I am just trying to care more about you. Excuse me, Feng Ruqing pursed her lips. Our state preceptor is a cleanliness freak, so he doesn't like people close to him. It's best if you stay away from him. Of course, I won't let him kill you. I won't let him tarnish his reputation as well, but if you dare to get close to him, I will not hesitate to kill you. Without waiting for Mu Ling's response, Mu Shi emitted a faint vicious aura before cutting her off coldly. What makes you think that you can kill my father? Feng Ruqing laughed. Fenglan, bring out the spirit wine. Before she left, she had sent a batch of spirit wine to Paramount for sale. However, before the jars of spirit wine were available in the market, Paramount's elders had bought all of them. Once Fenglan received Feng Ruqing's command, she had taken out a jar of spirit wine that was just sold by Feng Ruqing a while ago without any hesitation and presented it to her with full respect. Wow! Once Feng Ruqing opened the wine jar, a strong aroma of spirit wine filled the air, immediately catching everyone's attention, making them fixated on it. They started drooling over it. You can get this spirit wine from Paramount in an unlimited amount as you desire. Feng Ruqing's lips curved upward. Let's say I want to demolish whole Mu family. I am not only willing to give this spirit wine to everyone who is present here, but I will also provide 10 drops of spirit water to all clans. How many of you are willing to do so? Chapter 933. Everyone came to congratulate him with the temptation of spirit wine and spirit water. Everyone was hyped up and their eyes fell upon Mu Ling's face. Even Qin Li had forgotten the alliance and glanced at Mu Ling. I don't like drinking. But, Jiyusha narrowed his eyes and smiled. Lady Xiaoqing, are you really willing to provide 10 drops of spirit water? Yes, for real. She could get any amount of spirit water as she desired, but naturally, she could not speak about it openly, so she was only willing to take out 10 drops. Nevertheless, 10 drops of spirit water were sufficient to help a strong man break through his cultivation level. Jiyusha stroked his chin and fell into deep thought. There were also many people from Dark Warrior tier in this manner right now. If one person took 1 drop each, they could create at least 10 more powerful men. Well, this spirit water was totally worth it. Lady Feng, I'm willing to carry out your command, but I wish to have 10 jars of spirit wine. 1 jar is definitely not enough for me. I'm willing too. However, Lady Feng, Mu Huan's master is Grandmaster Hai Rong, therefore the consequence of fighting against Master Hai Rong is quite disastrous. I need something better for my escape later, so would you give a few more drops of spirit water? Jiyusha took the lead in bargaining, making everyone present forget about their fears and reveal their inner thoughts. Some people had even taken this opportunity to start bargaining. Regardless of Feng Ruqing's decision, this presented the Mu family with an answer. As long as Feng Ruqing nodded, a lot of people were willing to kill for her. What about Grandmaster Hai Rong being strong? Read more chapter on Novelful. They still had Jiyusha to shatter the enemy and break through the front line. Besides, Feng Ruqing was Paramount's owner, and Paramount was supported by Deity's Gate. With the 2 great forces of Tianshan clan and Deity's Gate, would they lose to a single person, Hai Rong? Mu Ling's face darkened and he seemed terrified. Then he chuckled curtly without smiling. Lady Feng, we did have some misunderstandings earlier. It was due to Han Feng's wrong information, which has caused so many misunderstandings between us. If he had known of Feng Ruqing's real identity, he would not have objected to the marriage arrangement even if she had been married before. Both Jiu Yi and Tang Yin had already broken off the engagement. There was only Qin Fei left. How could Qin Fei be compared to Feng Ruqing? She could only be a concubine. The position of the first wife must belong to Feng Ruqing. Misunderstanding? Su Yi smirked and stood up. You sent someone to poison Qing'er just to make her infertile? And you put the blame on Nan Xian, or did you mean to create a misunderstanding between both of them? Mu Ling's facial expression went stiff. He felt a little embarrassed as his bad deed was exposed to the public. Big brother. Mu Qingyin was shocked and her eyes widened. How could you even do such a thing? Me for extra chapters. He had asked someone to poison the poor girl just because he did not agree with Nan Xian marrying Feng Ruqing, intending to cause her to be infertile. Old Mu Ling was just an idiot in the past. Since when had he become such a wicked and cunning person? Haha. Ji Yusha sneered. I am really watching a good show today. You have poisoned somebody but you are claiming it to be just a misunderstanding? Young manor master, you are so cruel. At this moment, Mu Ling was hoping, desperately, to find a hole to hide. However, there was no trace of guilt on his face, only embarrassment. He did not regret what he had done. He only regretted not being careful enough in hiding it from being exposed to the public. Sister Suyi. Chen Qingyang came forward with a light smile. Perhaps you have misunderstood. I trust in Brother Ling's character, he will not do this kind of thing. Moreover, today is the old master's birthday celebration. Sister Suyi, why would you ruin my father's birthday party? Mu Ling's eyes fell upon Chen Qingyan's face as his thin lips pouted ever so slightly. He had not revealed his plan to poison Feng Ruqing to Qingyang, yet Qingyang completely trusted him. Chapter 934. Everyone came to congratulate him. This incident made him look so bad in this situation. Suyi gave a small smile. Before I got here, I have already mentioned that today is the old master's big day, so I don't want to see any blood spill in the Mu family. If it isn't because of your pushing, would it have ended up like this now? Chen Qingyan's face went pale. I did not, old master. Suyi turned to look at the old man who was drooling over the spirit wine that whole time and sighed before she apologized. I hope you can forgive me for ruining your birthday celebration. I come here today with the intention of claiming justice for myself, Nanxian, and Qing'er. The old master gulped and replied, I want to drink this wine. Suyi smiled helplessly and raised her head to signal to Feng Ruqing. Feng Ruqing waved her sleeve and then brought the spirit wine and placed it in front of the old master. The old master was pleased. I will agree with anything you say as long as there is wine. You can punish Mu Ling and Chen Qingyang in whatever way you wish. Besides, not only both of you want to beat them, I have been longing to beat these jerks to death as well. For him, he was satisfied as long as there was wine and meat. Anyway, both Mu Ling and Chen Qingyang had been eyesores to him for a long time. Suyi could do anything she wanted with them. Nanxian. Feng Ruqing smiled and held on to Nanxian's arm. For the sake of the old master's birthday celebration, let's not settle scores with them here. Once everything was over, whatever the Mu family owed Suyi and Nanxian all these years, she would deal with them one by one. All right. Nanxian shot Mu Ling a cold glance, but his glance softened when his eyes fell on Feng Ruqing. Regarding this Mu family, Nanxian had always been indifferent toward them. He expressed neither happiness, anger, disappointment, nor hatred. If it were not for Mu Ling who had been targeting Feng Ruqing, if it was not for Mu Ling who tried to poison Feng Ruqing, he would not have had the urge to kill him. Nanxian subconsciously tightened his grip on Feng Ruqing, unwilling to let her go. In this life, he would not allow anyone to hurt her, no matter who the person was. Feiya, after watching the couple holding hands moving toward the banquet table, when you looked worriedly at Qin Feiya, who was standing next to her. Qin Feiya did not say a single word since Feng Ruqing's arrival. Her eyes were full of sadness and loneliness, which made people felt sorry for her. Mother. Qin Feiya smiled bitterly. Perhaps this is what I can only do in this lifetime. However, she was not reluctant to accept it. It was easy to fall in love, but it was never easy to let go and forget a person. When she was still a child, she had met Nanxian for the very first time, but she bet younger Nanxian could not even remember a single thing about her back then. After she had grown up, she saw the same guy in the portrait and had fallen in love at first sight. When she knew about Mu Ling's visit to Qin Manor on behalf of Nanxian, nobody had realized her blossoming feelings. At that moment, she thought that she could marry him. Me for extra chapters. Even if it was just to be his concubine. In order to enter the Mu family, she had given up her most beloved younger brother. From the beginning, when she had resisted being a drug primer pursuing Qin Chen's fresh blood, until her acceptance in the end. Everything she had done was for Nanxian, however, her heart was still hurt in the end. When you grabbed Qin Feiya's hand as she felt sorry for her, how could she not worry about her only daughter? You rest assured, It will eventually be yours if it is destined for you. Nobody could snatch the guy away from her daughter. If there was one, she did not mind making sure that the person no longer exists. It's useless. Qin Feiya shook her head and smiled bitterly. She was the young lady of Fengyun clan and Paramount Sauna. Even Mu Ling's attitude had changed when he learned about her new identity. So, what else could she do to make everything good again? Chapter 935. Mu Ling was beaten up. Feng Ruqing loathed her so much, she would never agree to let her be the concubine. Wen Yu's eyes were full of emotions and she was plotting something. Everyone had their own weaknesses. Since Feng Ruqing had such a good relationship with Qin Yu, then Qin Chen must be her weakness. For her daughter's sake, she would do anything even if she had to use unscrupulous method. Qing'er, come and sit next to me with Nanxian. Su Yi calmly and elegantly filled the teacup in front of her. She raised the cup and smiled gently. Without any warning, she smashed the cup in front of Mu Ling. The hot tea splashed everywhere. Mu Ling hurriedly blocked it with his hands, but the tea still splashed on him. Mu Ling, if you dare to plot something against Feng Ruqing, then what happened to this cup is what will happen to your Mu family. Mu Ling's face turned ghastly pale. He did not blame Su Yi for prioritizing Nanxian. After all, Nanxian was her son. It was normal for Nanxian to be the apple of her eyes. However, why did Feng Ruqing receive such blessing and support from Su Yi, who was willing to go against him a few times just for her? Su Yi, Mu Ling always knew how to adapt according to the situation. In this case, he could only suppress the dissatisfaction in his heart. He tried his best to speak calmly. As long as you are willing to return, we have no issues of you letting Nanxian marry her. The only requirement is your return. Su Yi chuckled softly. Since I have decided to come back this time, I have no plans to leave. You people, thinking that I will not return for many years, are taking this advantage to bully Nanxian and Feng'er during my absence. As a mother, how can I sit calmly and ignore them? Yes, she did not intend to leave this time. The only reason she had been enduring their antics was the old master's birthday celebration. She did not want to ruin his birthday celebration at all. However, these people never gave her this final piece. Read more chapter on novelful Lady Feng, These Spirit Wines, in the banquet hall. When Feng Ruqing was approaching Su Yi, she heard a voice coming from the side. She turned to the source of the voice and found a middle-aged man. She looked at him and chuckled. Luo Li, regarding the name list I have asked you to jot down before, have you written the names of those who have sided with Mu family? Luo Li nodded vigorously. There are a few people talking bad about them secretly, so I have jotted them down, and some people, their expressions were not appropriate as they seemed a little scornful. Oh yes, some people have checked you out as well. I remember all of them. Good. Please keep them in your mind. These people are banned from our service, so we won't be providing them any spirit wine. The middle-aged man's smile suddenly went stiff. Me for extra chapters. This lady really bear grudges. However, the fragrant smell of spirit wine was too alluring. He could not even contain himself as he turned to look at it. From time to time, the sound of drooling and gulping could be heard in the banquet hall. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence of the night at Mu Manor. It was like a pebble thrown into the pond that caused ripples. Grandmaster Hai Rong has come to congratulate Old Master. Grandmaster Hai Rong. This sound of this name was as loud as thunder, roaring into Mu Ling's ear, turning him ghastly pale, instantly. He looked nervous and angry. He was nervous about Grandmaster Hai Rong's sudden appearance, and his anger was directed at Mu Huan. Mu Huan had informed him earlier that Grandmaster Hai Rong had left Tianshan City. Why was he here to join the old master's birthday celebration? I have no idea. Mu Huan noticed Mu Ling's unusual facial expression. She shook her head calmly with no hints of nervousness in her eyes at all. Chapter 936. Mu Ling was beaten up. Master would eventually find out about this incident sooner or later. Unfortunately, the occasion was not right. Looking from another perspective, she no longer needed to cover up, She could take this opportunity to show her father that she had become Grandmaster Hai Rong's apprentice based on her own achievements and efforts. It had nothing to do with Su Yi at all. Mu Manor is very lively today. Ha ha ha. Grandmaster Hai Rong laughed heartily and strode through the dark of the night. He was wearing a grey robe, looking divine with a sage-like poise. He was smiling the whole time, so it was difficult to guess his emotion from his face. Countless surprises, excitement, and panic expressions appeared on the guests' faces. The surprise and excitement came naturally from being able to see Grandmaster Hai Rong in person. As for panic, they were willing to go against the Mu family for spirit wine just now. Did Master Hai Rong purposely come after them after knowing this incident? It was undeniable that Feng Ruqing had the support of Tianshan clan and Deity's Gate. However, only a few people from Paramount here represented Deity's Gate. Just Ji Yusha alone would not be sufficient to scare off Grandmaster Hai Rong. They might end up in a stalemate. However, what about them? Read more chapter on Novelful. They were not Hai Rong's opponents. In case Hai Rong got angry and decided to destroy them, they had no chance to escape at all. Grandmaster Hai Rong, this is Wu Lin from the Wu family. At the banquet, a man wearing a green robe stood up and said, charmingly, I have long honored the name Grandmaster Hai Rong. It is indeed my pleasure to be able to meet you today. By the way, this woman had just forced me to fight against the Mu family. It wasn't my intention, it was her persecution. Grandmaster Hai Rong should investigate this matter. No matter when or where, there would always be someone who bends with the wind. The person would follow whoever was in power. Me for extra chapters. Feng Lan squinted and shot that man a cold glare. You are afraid of this old man. Does it mean you are not scared of Paramount? The guy in green robes was stunned and his expression went stiff. He did not give much thought about offending Paramount. All he knew was that if he did not make his intention clear now, he would have no chance to escape. Some others stood up. All of them were pushing the blame onto Feng Ruqing, but they did not realize that the faces of the people of the Mu family were getting paler and paler, and they were not excited to see Hai Rong at all. They were willing to be tempted by spirit wine just now, not because of Tianshan clan and Deity's Gate, but also because they could leave quickly after they have succeeded. Even if Hai Rong was very strong, he would not know who was the culprit was due to big number of people present. But not now. Hai Rong had come for the Mu family. It was obviously unwise to offend the Mu family now. Hai Rong put one hand behind his back. With a smile on his face, he looked at Mu Ling with a grin. Mu Ling, I'm here to participate in the old master's birthday celebration. Aren't you happy to see me? Mu Ling recovered from his surprise. He faked a cough and smiled reluctantly. Of course, I am happy. It's just that, I heard from Mu Huan saying that you have left the city. Now, you are here to join us, that's why it is out of my expectation and I was a bit surprised. Huana, please bring your master to his seat. Yes. Mu Huan came forward with a smile and stretched out her hand to help Hai Rong. Master, allow me to bring you to the table. Looking at Mu Huan's hand, Hai Rong avoided her and walked away without giving her a second glance. He walked toward Feng Ruqing. Mu Huan's smile awkwardly froze. Her hand was left hanging in the air. She felt a cold aura headed in her direction. Chapter 937, Mu Ling was beaten up as she turned her head stiffly and saw that her most trusted master was standing in front of Su Yi. I came here today for the old master's birthday celebration, and there is one thing that I want to announce in public. He just glanced at Su Yi and closed his eyes. Mu Ling subconsciously sighed in relief. It seemed that Hai Rong had forgotten about Su Yi's appearance and did not recognize her after so many years. Su Yi was with the old master, therefore, he had assumed that Hai Rong's words were addressed to the old master. Grandmaster Hai Rong, please feel free to make the announcement. All right. Hai Rong glanced over Mu Ling, and then looked at all the people present. All these years, you all know that I am Huana's master. I am also aware that many people are present today as they know that I will be attending this birthday celebration at Mu Manor. If this statement were made by someone else, it would have sounded arrogant and shameless. However, the person who said this was Hai Rong. Only Hai Rong had such capability and honor to make with such a statement. He had treated so many incurable diseases. Many strong warriors had been rescued by him. Of course, it was the same year, and a year later that Hai Rong was no longer willing to heal people, and no one knew why. He never accepted any more apprentices, so Mu Huan was the first and the last. Read more chapter on Novelful therefore. Today, I wish to announce to the whole world that I, Hai Rong, am cutting off all ties with the Mu family, and Mu Huan is no longer my disciple. The old man's words struck like thunder everyone's heart like a lightning, making everyone tremble in shock. What was going on? Why did Hai Rong publicly announce Mu Huan's expulsion? Master. Mu Huan's face went pale, her body was trembling, and her proud eyebrows were filled with sadness and tears. Master, have I done something wrong? Are you going to drive me out of the door? If I have done something wrong, please tell me, I will change it. Hai Rong's heart almost softened when he looked at Mu Huan's dejected and sorrowful face. However, he quickly toughened up. He did give Mu Huan a last chance to make things right. If a few days ago, she had told him the truth at the tavern, perhaps then, he would still forgive her. Me for extra chapters. However, it was too late now. Huana was a scheming and conniving person. He was reluctant to let his good reputation be tarnished by her action. Grandmaster Hai Rong, Chen Qingyang was a little agitated and she quickly made her way toward Hai Rong. She pleaded, Huana has always been an obedient girl. What has she done wrong that made you so angry? Please tell us. If you tell us, we will definitely ask her to correct her mistakes. Hai Rong's smile faded slowly from his face. He glanced at Chen Qingyang coldly before he replied, What's wrong? Don't you, the Mu family, know the situation better? You have treated me like a fool. You have lied to me for almost 20 years and now, you are asking me what is the matter? Chen Qingyang trembled in fear. Grandmaster Hai Rong did recognize Su Yi. But why? Why did he not ask anything before deciding that the Mu family was lying to him? Suddenly, Chen Qingyang somehow knew the answer, which made her tremble in fright. Before this incident, Grandmaster Hai Rong must have met Su Yi. That was why he knew Su Yi's real identity without having to ask any questions. Chen Qingyang bit her lower lip in desperation and closed her eyes in despair. Her ghastly pale face made her look even weaker. Chapter 938. Mu Ling was beaten up. Mu Ling finally understood everything. He knew that all the explanations were useless at this moment, and now he even regretted requesting Mu Huan to bring Hai Rong back in the first place. Hai Rong had not only failed to cure the old master's illness but had also exposed all of the Mu family's lies to the public. This time, the Mu family had completely lost him. Suddenly, Mu Ling's eyes lit up as he realized something. No, the Mu family would not lose Hai Rong's support. As long as Su Yi was willing to forgive him, Hai Rong would certainly be able to forgive him. Grandmaster Hai Rong. Ji Yusha stood up with a smile. His sharp eyes glanced at the Mu family members who had been silent since just now. May I know what is going on? This question was the most anticipated by the rest of the people who were wondering about the same thing. Especially the group of people who had been trying to clarify their relationship with Fengruching just now. They wanted to know what was the cause of the sudden bad blood between Hai Rong and the Mu family. 20 years ago, I had a spirit herb that was about to wither. Back then, Lady Su Yi had given me a drop of golden blood, which had helped me save that spirit herb. Hai Rong smiled and continued to explain, we found out that we had great chemistry after talking to each other and it had blossomed into a close friendship. Since then, every few months, she would come to my mountain for a few days' stays to discuss and do research on medicines with me. She had also helped me to solve some problems. I owe her a favor, and promised her a condition as well. Grandmaster Hai Rong lived remotely in the mountains and rarely left his place. Moreover, Su Yi's personality pleased him and brought some joy into his life after years of loneliness. He finally got someone to accompany him and discuss medicine, which made him really contented, so he treated her like his own daughter. However, Su Yi had suddenly disappeared and never showed up again. Read more chapter on Novelful until one day, Mu Ling came to see me with Mu Huan. He had requested me to accept Mu Huan as my apprentice in exchange for the favor that I owed Suyi. The funniest thing was, I had never asked for Suyi's name despite knowing her for a long time. I always thought that she and Mu Ling were siblings. Until I went down from the mountain and met Chen Qingyang. She addressed Suyi as her sister. If they were really siblings, then Chen Qingyang would not have addressed Suyi as her sister. After questioning for some time, Chen Qingyang and Mu Ling claimed that Suyi was their distant cousin sister. Me for extra chapters. Ha ha ha, what a joke of a distant cousin sister. Back then, I did not know that the young lady was actually Lady Suyi from the Mu family. A concubine has chased away the legal wife and tricked me to return Suyi's favor in order to set the path for her daughter's future. Silence filled the air. The shocking revelation by Hai Rong was totally unexpected, and it was far more interesting than drama. Perhaps before tonight, everyone had thought that although Chen Qingyang was just a concubine, she was gentle and considerate and was willing to treat her husband's son as her own. She had maintained a good character and taken good care of the family. For many years, she had taken care of the old master without complaint and regrets. Despite being scolded and beaten, she had never said anything. But now, this shocking news was enough to make everyone abandon their prior beliefs, leaving everyone shocked and unable to extricate themselves. Mu Ling and Chen Qingyan's shamelessness was way over the boundary. How could they take advantage of someone's kindness to give Mu Huan a better future? No matter how good Mu Huan was, she was just a concubine's daughter. How could Mu Ling do this? No wonder Lady Mu and Nan Xian had left the Mu family without a second thought. The biased treatment was far too much for one to bear. At this moment, Chen Qingyang could feel the icy cold stares from everyone. She felt extremely exposed and humiliated. Chapter 939, Mu Ling was beaten up v Brother Ling. She looked helplessly and anxiously at Mu Ling. Mu Ling was busy thinking about how to solve this problem. How could he still have time to care about Chen Qingyang? This time, Mu Ling's indifference and ignorance made Chen Qingyang feel like her body had plummeted into an ice valley, leaving her alone in the cold. Ha ha. Ji Yusha smiled, scornfully. It turns out that the Mu family is so shameless. Being able to be here today is really an eye-opener. Not to mention the other people, even Mu Qingyan did not expect that his brother would do something like that. How could he have mistreated Suyi in order to please a concubine? Didn't he feel guilty? Master. Mu Huan's distressed voice filled with grief fluttered toward Hai Rong, and tears covered her face. It was all done by my parents. I have no idea about it at all. Why are you casting me away for something that I did not do? What Mu Huan was unable to fully comprehend was that the mentorship between her and her master for many years could not be compared to Nan Suyi, as her parents claimed before. And how could you accept me as your disciple for her sake? Obviously it's my talent. Enough. Hai Rong looked cold and snorted coldly. Mu Huan, I gave you a chance. Have you forgotten how you have answered my question a few days ago? I didn't know, I really didn't know. She shook her head and stepped back a few steps. Chen Qingyan's eyes brightened, she gritted her teeth and said, Grandmaster Hai Rong, everything is Brother Ling's and my fault. Huana is innocent. She doesn't know anything. No matter what happened, Huana must be protected first. Hai Rong had been with her for many years, so it was impossible that there were no feelings between them at all. As long as Mu Huan was not connected to this incident, she could still be Hai Rong's disciple. Hai Rong shook his head in disappointment. Mu Huan has done everything possible to prevent me from meeting Suyi. Do you really think I couldn't feel it? Chen Qingyang, I'm not foolish to such an extent. What's more, why did I accept Mu Huan as a disciple in the first place? Don't you understand? Without Suyi, I would never have accepted any disciples at all. Chen Qingyang went stiff, she clenched her fists. This was the only way she could suppress her inner jealousy. Me for extra chapters. She was jealous of Nan Suyi. Why could she enjoy love and care from so many people despite not doing anything? The old master was like this. The same went for Mu Qingyan and Hai Ring as well. On the other hand, she had been putting in so much effort but she still could not fully replace Nan Suyi. Master. Mu Huan cried and fell to her knees near Hairong's feet. She seemed desperate and pitiful. Please don't leave me. I promise that I will always listen to you. I really know my faults now. I really know my faults. I will practice hard and study medicine. I won't let you down. She did not want her face and dignity anymore. She only knew that she could not allow Hairong to leave her. This was her only master. In the past few years, she had developed a sense of dependency on him, not as a father but much greater than a father, yet her master was disowning her. Besides, the current Mu family could not survive without him. Qin Fei stood awkwardly not far away from the scene. Before tonight, Mu Huan was still an arrogant person with a fierce aura. In the blink of an eye, she had become such a desperate and pitiful person. She raised up her head and her eyes fell on Suyi. She felt guilty at this moment. What if, during her first meeting with Suyi, she did not find trouble with Fengruching? Perhaps the ending would have been different. Chapter 940. Mu Ling was beaten up. Suyi would definitely have had a good impression about her and allowed her to be Nanxian's woman. Even if Nanxian was a lecherous man, then, as long as she could marry him, the Qin family would be somehow related to Hairong. Perhaps Hairong would be able to treat her illness, and she would no longer need to depend on Chenna to be her drug primer. Moreover, Hairong had the same cultivation level as Ji Yusha. With his support, the Qin family could be on equal standings with the chief manor master, and his father would no longer be oppressed by them. Suddenly, Qin Fei's gaze fell on Fengruking's face. A light flashed through her beautiful eyes. She bit her lower lip, subconsciously. If Fengruching was willing to forgive her, maybe Suyi would be able to accept her again. In the quiet banquet hall, only Mu Huan was crying. Hairong looked down at Mu Huan, who was kneeling in front of him. No matter how hard you practice, you have always been proud of your own strength without knowing that there are many other talented people in the world. Because I had believed in your father and mother's words, I have used up all of my spirit herbs to cultivate you until you have your current strength now. Mu Huan stopped crying. She raised her head and stared at the old face in front of her. Master, don't call me master. Hairong sneered. Haven't I spent a lot of precious spirit herbs on you all these years? If the same thing happened to any young man in this room, they would definitely have achieved more than you have now, and the funny thing is, how dare you call yourself a genius? These two Mu family members were such a waste. Mu Huan was luckier than Mu Shi. With Hairong's cultivation, he had used all his spirit herbs to cultivate Mu Huan until she was the person she was today. Read more chapter on novel full. Although Mu Shi was also cultivated by the Mu family and Chen Qingyang had also fed him with a lot of spirit herbs, Mu Huan possessed Hairong's whole collection of spirit herbs, among which were gifted by many strong warriors to him. After consuming so many precious spirit herbs, which resulted in her current strength, what kind of genius was she like? Me for extra chapters. No, this is not true. Mu Huan shook her head in denial and stepped backward. Master, this is not true. I am indeed a genius. A lot of people have praised me that way. Compared to her disciple title being stripped off by her master, she felt more disappointed and distressed when her beloved master denied her hard work and achievement. The funniest thing was, had she really obtained her current strength due to the spirit herbs? She was not Mu Shi. What she had achieved today was solely due to her own efforts. What has Suyi achieved? Nobody could deny all her hard work and effort. Hairong shook his head. There was no need for him to reason with Mu Huan anymore because she could not accept the reality. Without saying any more, he turned to look at Suyi. I have taken back whatever I had given to Mu Huan today. Little girl Suyi, are you satisfied with the way I have handled this matter? Suyi looked helpless and speechless. I am no longer that little girl. Now, I have become a mother and will be a grandmother soon. Stop calling me little girl. It makes me look bad. Ha ha ha, Suyi, you do have good taste. This Fengruching not only has immense talent, but she also has a good and bubbly personality. Apart from her medical skills, I think she is the only one who can heal the old master to complete recovery. Mu Huan's face darkened and was flushed. Even before tonight, Her master had never praised her for her talent, but he had complimented Feng Ruqing this time. Chapter 941. Mu Ling was beaten up 7. Besides, Feng Ruqing was so arrogant. What made her look so charming and well loved by everyone? Was master actually blind? However, when Mu Huan recalled Hai Rong's attitude toward her just now, she swallowed all the words she intended to say. At this moment, her master was still annoyed at her father and mother's behavior. Now was obviously not the right timing to open her mouth again. Once her master's anger was subdued, she would use her coquettish act to persuade him again. After all, her master would eventually forgive her behavior. Grandmaster Hai Rong, Mu Qingyan greeted him elegantly with a smile. It's getting late. The banquet is starting soon. Grandmaster Hai Rong, please have a seat. All right. Hai Rong chuckled. He really should have left before this, but Suyi's return and his fondness toward Feng Ruqing had gotten him to decide to stay back. Mu Ling watched Hai Rong take a seat next to Suyi. His throat was a bit hoarse and dry when he wanted to explain something. However, there were too many people at the table and those stares were too obvious and disturbing, so he could not explain himself at all. The banquet was finally able to officially begin. The maids brought in the delicious food from outside the hall. The guests were staring and sneering disrespectfully at the Mu family, making them feel like they were being stabbed by countless needles. The cowards who bent with the wind wished to hide like a turtle hiding its head. They were worried that Feng Ruqing would remember them. By the way, Feng Ruqing paused, and asked with a big smile, "Who said just now that I have threatened them to do something evil to the Mu family?" The faces of the group of people who were still worried just now froze and the air around them became so thin that they almost fainted. Read more chapter on novelful Luo Li. Did you jot down those names? Luo Li waved the small notebook in her hand. I remember it all. Well, give this list to Feng Lan. From now on, they have been blacklisted by Paramount. The herbal dish was selling like hotcakes, and many people purposely went to try it. Once blacklisted, they would not even get to taste the herbal dish, let alone the spirit wine. Now, those people started to feel the fear. Their eyes were begging for mercy. One more thing, Feng Ruqing did not allow the people to open their mouths before continuing. Since you claim that I have threatened you, then I want each of you to slap Mu Ling and Chen Qingyang 100 times. Mu Ling's eyes were fuming with rage. He shouted in anger, Feng Ruqing, me for extra chapters. At this moment, he had totally forgotten about his early mission. He was raging. He was Nan Xian's father. How could she treat him like this? Besides, Qingyang was so weak and delicate. How could she bear it? Feng Ruqing pursed her lips and turned to look at Nan Xian. Nan Xian, he scolded me. Na Xian looked up slowly. He stared at Mu Ling with a murderous look. Yes. Mu Ling saw the murderous intent from his own son's eyes. Both of his clenched fists trembled. What a good son. He would not hesitate to kill his father just for a woman. Mu Ling had a feeling that Nan Xian would kill him for sure if Feng Ruqing were to request it. 200 slaps. Do not miss a single slap, said Nan Xian, emotionlessly. He purposely glanced at that group of people as he spoke. They knew that their strength was no match to Mu Ling's. Their bodies turned icy cold under Nan Xian's cold stare. It seemed as if a giant hand was choking their necks and they were going to die soon. If they did not obey Nan Xian's request, perhaps Nan Xian might even kill them instantly. Chapter 942. Mu Ling was beaten up via this situation had left them with no option at all. Everyone had an urge to cry now. They were willing to do it earlier because of the temptation of spirit wine. Moreover, Jiyusha had started it first and they also had Deity's Gate support. However, what did they have now? Feng Ruqing had the intention to punish them. They had a feeling that if they really did something against Mu Ling, they would definitely be pursued by the Mu family forever. On the other hand, Nan Xian would definitely kill them first if they refused to obey his requests. After much deliberation, they decided to hit first. Maybe they still had a chance to escape later, but they might have no chance at all if they did not do it now. Master Mu Ling, Please don't blame us." A middle-aged man raised his hand timidly. "Don't you dare." Mu Ling was so annoyed that he was about to crack. His eyes were burning with anger. Just as Mu Ling was about to hit out, 3 forces hit him from 3 different directions, making him stiff and unable to move. He was stunned as he turned his head, looking at the sources of the 3 hits. Jiyusha, Hai Rong, and Nanxian. Slap. Someone slapped his face. The slap was loud and stung Mu Ling's face, making him gasp. His eyes were burning with anger. Read more chapter on novelful How Dare You Touch Me. The whole Mu family will make sure that you die without a proper burial. The middle-aged man cried, "I didn't do it too. It's their fault. If I have refused, I would have been dead by now." Another slap landed on his face. Mu Ling became very angry. This was a huge humiliation. He had never been humiliated like this before. All these people must be punished. He would never let any one of them go easily. "What are you still waiting for?" Feng Ruqing glanced at the rest of the people. "There is also Chen Qingyang here. You should go one by one, take turns to slap them." "Oh yes, everyone must slap them 200 times. If I find out that any one of you has missed one slap, you will have to start all over again." The Mu family took a deep, gasping breath. This woman was really brutal and vicious. How could both faces withstand being hit repeatedly for 200 times? The members of the Mu family who had previously offended Feng Ruqing stepped back subconsciously. They were afraid that Feng Ruqing might do the same to them. They also realized that Feng Ruqing was much more atrocious than Suyi. If this had happened in the past, Qin Feiya would never have let Feng Ruqing behave as she wished. Although she still could not bear this sight, people would normally choose to protect themselves. She did teach Luo Li a lesson before because Luo Li obeyed her. Me for extra chapters. In fact, she would sometimes stand for justice, but it usually happened if the opponent's family background was weaker than the Qin family. Feng Ruqing, obviously, was not someone who could easily be provoked. Besides, she needed to depend on Feng Ruqing's support if she wished to be Nanxian's concubine in the future. Therefore, she would never defend the Mu family at this time. Smack. Ah! Chen Qingyang screamed in pain after being slapped. Her whole face was red and swollen. She looked pitiful with her watery eyes full of fear. That fearful expression hurt Mu Ling like a needle pricking his heart. He shouted in anger, "Enough! I would bear all the slaps for Qingyang. She is innocent. Don't you bully her." Feng Ruqing looked at Mu Ling with admiration. Compared to Liu Yuchen, Mu Ling was much more gentlemanly than him. At least he still wanted to protect Chen Qingyang. It was such a shame. Continue the slapping. Do not stop. Everyone must give him only 200 slaps. Meanwhile, Chen Qingyang's punishment is changed to 250. Did you feel sorry for her? Did you feel like protecting her? Well, I shall make her look like a complete idiot. Feng Ruqing said to herself silently. Chapter 943. Mu Ling was beaten up. Aixi had said long ago that she would make these people pay for what they had done to Suyi sooner or later. Feng, are you? Qing. Mu Ling gritted his teeth. He hoped that Feng Ruqing would treat his illness, but he was blinded by his anger right now. He only able to see that Feng Ruqing was hurting the woman he loved dearly. Qingyang was so weak and kind. How could she withstand such a torment? Feng Ruqing was purposely treating her this way. Feng Ruqing sneered. Why did you call out your father's name? Cough. Suyi spat out the water in her mouth from the sudden remark. She took out a handkerchief and wiped her mouth calmly. She reminded Feng Ruqing with a soft smile, "Qinga, do mind your language. Mu Ling's father is still sitting here with us." "Oh, why did you call out your ancestor's name?" Suyi was speechless. She would rather let Feng Ruqing call herself Mu Ling's father. She thought this would sound better than the latter. The latter one made her a few generations more senior to the old master. Puff. Mu Ling was slapped until he vomited blood out. His eyes were blazing with anger, staring at Feng Ruqing angrily. The glare seemed to want to break her into pieces. Nanxian pulled Feng Ruqing into his embrace and shot Mu Ling a cold glance. However, Feng Ruqing did not care about Mu Ling's death stare. She gently pushed Nanxian away and walked toward Mu Ling slowly, looking down at him condescendingly. Read more chapter on novelful. I know you can't wait to kill me. It's fine, I like the way you loathe me, but you can do nothing to kill me. If you want to seek revenge, you can just retaliate against those who beat you. It's them who have obeyed my threat and are not afraid of you. Mu Ling gritted his teeth. He knew that Feng Ruqing was telling the truth. Moreover, Nanxian's strength did surprise Mu Ling, not to mention that Jiu Shi and Hai Rong were still there to protect Feng Ruqing. Even if he hated the woman, he could only suppress his anger and end up with internal injuries, as there was nothing he could do to her. Feng Ruqing, you are so vicious. Don't you fear that Nanxian will abandon you? Feng Ruqing turned her head to look at Nanxian and blinked. Will you abandon me? Never. Nanxian ruffled Feng Ruqing's hair gently and smiled affectionately. Because I will be more vicious than you. To what extent was this affection? Qin Fei could see it clearly between Nanxian and Feng Ruqing. Me for extra chapters. The deep sorrow she felt was obvious on her beautiful but pale face. She smiled dejectedly. It was a sad, bitter smile. In her perspective, the genuine smile on the guy's face was like a sharp sword mercilessly stabbing into her heart. Mu Ling swallowed the blood in his mouth. His cold and murderous stare was like a furious lion's. He stared at those people who had slapped Chen Qingyang. Not to mention the fact that it was 200 slaps from each person, they could barely bear it even if it was only 200 slaps from one person. In fact, his beloved Qingyang was weak and fragile. Mu Shi stood still. Although he had soft and gentle features, he stared at Nanxian and Feng Ruqing coldly, his thoughts unfathomable. On the other hand, Mu Huan was not as ruthless as Mu Shi. She suddenly ran to kneel in front of Hai Rong and pleaded to him with her strained voice and tears. Master, I beg you. Please save my parents. She was selfish in nature, but Mu Ling and Chen Qingyang were her parents after all. She could not just sit back and watch them endure such suffering. Hai Rong closed his aging eyes in disappointment. I can't interfere in this matter. Don't call me master anymore. I have given you a chance but you didn't cherish it. I can't tolerate a treacherous person with such a malicious heart. Mu Huan stiffly got up from the ground. Her jealousy started to creep into her consciousness and erode her mind. She gradually grew mad. Chapter 944, Mu Ling was beaten up XA malicious heart? Haha, no matter how vicious she still could not be compared to Suyi and Feng Ruqing's viciousness. However, in Master's heart, she was the woman with a malicious heart. I understand, but I believe that in the future, you will eventually regret it. Since now Hai Rong had decided to expel her from his legacy regardless of their close relationship in the past, why should she keep clinging to him? She had given up her dignity, put her pride aside, and begged him desperately, but it was useless. So, why should she let go of her final strain of self-esteem? She, Mu Huan, was still a woman with pride. A long time had passed, the slapping had finally stopped. Both Mu Ling and Chen Qingyin's faces had become swollen like pig heads, and they could even see red blood vessels on their faces that looked terrifying. Chen Qingyang kept her head down in tears and she looked like a poor woman who had been bullied. Meanwhile, Mu Ling glanced at the group of people with his eyes filled with murderous intent. I, Mu Ling, shall take revenge for today's incident. His slurred speech was a little unclear, but everyone could understand what he was trying to express. Read more chapter on novelful. Mu Ling held Chen Qingyin's hand tightly, walked out of the banquet hall without looking back, and disappeared into the dark night. Mu Shi and Mu Huan quickly followed behind them, leaving the banquet hall. Sister-in-law. Mu Qingyin's heart was a little uncomfortable, especially toward the end. Mu Ling still defended Chen Qingyang. Had he ever pondered, what were the consequences of his action toward Suyi? It was him who had begged Suyi to return home in the first place, but now he had abandoned her again. The worst thing was, he had even robbed Suyi's favor for the sake of a concubine's daughter. This was ridiculous. Xiao Qingyin. Suyi raised her hand and touched Mu Qingyin's handsome face. It's been a long time since I last saw you. You've grown so much. Don't call me sister-in-law anymore in the future. Just call me by my name. No, you are my sister-in-law forever. Even though he doesn't acknowledge it, our Mu family only recognizes your position and it will always be yours. Mu Qingyin stated it clearly without any doubt in his voice. His face was glowing with affirmation. As long as he was still the second young master of the Mu family, he would regard her as his sister-in-law for the rest of his life. Unless he too left the Mu family, he was worried that, if Suyi lost this identity, she would have nothing to do with the Mu family anymore. Me for extra chapters. Suyi gave a small smile. Xiao Qingyin, you don't have to worry too much. I have decided to come back this time for the sake of meeting you and the old master. If it weren't for both of you, I'm afraid that Nanxian and I will never come back to Mu Manor again. Mu Qingyan's heart felt warm. A tender smile crept across his handsome face. Despite the fact that Mu Qingyan had already grown up into an adult, in Suyi's eyes, he was still the young innocent boy from 20 years ago. The eldest sister-in-law was acting like a mother. Mu Qingyan had no mother. To him, Suyi was his mother. Sister-in-law, are you going to leave this time? Mu Qingyan's eyes were hopeful, and he looked at Suyi unblinkingly. Suyi hesitated. She looked at Mu Qingyan first before turning to look at the old master who behaved like a child now before switching her gaze to Feng Ruqing. With pleading in her eyes, she was hoping that Feng Ruqing could make the decision for her. Feng Ruqing smiled joyfully. Suyi, if you are reluctant to leave, we can just stay here until the old master has recovered, then we will make a move. Stay here. The elders and the rest of the Mu family were on the verge of exploding. These people had managed to turn the Mu family upside down in just one night. Now, this woman wanted to move in as well. Would she not burn down Mu Manor within a few days? Chapter 945. I want to stay in the Mu family, I know way. I don't. Bang. Before the old man could finish his words, a blow was dealt on his chest, sending him flying before finally landing on the stage. The old man's head tilted before he lost consciousness. Everyone in the Mu family could not help but sharply suck in cold air and turn their heads around dazedly. Their eyes were fixed upon the young master in a snowy white robe. You look so ethereal and otherworldly. Is it good to strike a blow so often? Nanxian looked away, his expression was of nonchalance. His sleeves were billowing in the breeze. Qing'er, go ahead. What Nanxian actually meant was that Feng Ruqing could do whatever she wanted and Nanxian would take care of whoever going against her. If any of you disagree, you could just tell us. Don't worry, I am a thoughtful and considerate person. I am open to objection. Feng Ruqing broke into a smile. The people of the Mu family stepped back subconsciously and flattered Feng Ruqing by smiling at her. No, absolutely not. We are overjoyed that you all are back to the Mu family. Naturally, we have no objection. Young Lady Feng, could you get young Master Nanxian to put down his sword? I am frightened. Don't you ever forget that you are the one who has invited us to stay in the Mu family. I have asked all of you to be frank with us. Feng Ruqing smiled even more widely. Young Lady Feng, you are overthinking. We are telling the truth. Oh yeah, could you get young Master Nanxian to take a step back and never move forward? I am really scared. Read more chapter on Novelful, but I am afraid that some people might put me in trouble. I cannot stand hearing people talking bad about me behind my back. Feng Yu narrowed her eyes. You can do whatever you desire if that happens. Previously, the people of the Mu family would never have given a second thought to Feng Ruqing. However, there were too many powerful forces backing her. Hence, they could not help but compromise out of fear. Even Nanxian's strength had frightened them. The people of the Mu family who had always been looking down on others now slumped to the ground with a smile plastered on their wrinkled faces. Suyi, let's stay in the Mu family then. Feng Ruqing grinned. Why would Feng Ruqing do that? Suyi frowned. Suyi knew Feng Ruqing very well. Feng Ruqing would never want to stay in this toxic place. Me for extra chapters. Suddenly, Suyi's heart skipped a beat. She quickly turned her head around to look at the old master whose mouth was filled with food. Does it has anything to do with the old master's health? Xiao Qing wants to stay here because of the old master? Suyi's eyes darkened. If that was the case, the old master's health must have something to do with the people of the Mu family. Although Mu Ling was selfish and foolish, the old master was his father. He would never do anything to harm the old master. Hence, there was only one person left, Chen Qingyang. If what Suyi thought was right, then Qingyang was truly vicious. Young lady Feng, I have mistaken the relationship between Chenna and you as he is so close with you. I sincerely apologize to you. Please forgive me. With a smile plastered on her delicate face, Qin Fei walked slowly toward Feng Ruqing with a cup of wine in her hands. Qin Fei stared earnestly in Feng Ruqing's face. Her eyes sparkled brilliantly. Chapter 946. I want to stay in the Mu family. What Qin Fei did had actually put Feng Ruqing in an awkward predicament. If Feng Ruqing did not forgive Qin Fei, she was truly wicked and evil. However, none of the people present said anything. They had learned a great lesson from the things that had happened just now. No one dared to comment on anything associated with Feng Ruqing. Young lady Feng? Qin Fei pursed her lips as she stared dazedly at Feng Ruqing. Young lady Feng, please accept my sincere apologies. I have wronged you as I heard that you married someone else before. You're right. I was married before. Feng Ruqing smiled brightly. Stunned, Qin Fei looked up at Feng Ruqing. She had never thought that Feng Ruqing would admit this in public. What is wrong with that? At least, I am not pretentious and will never go after someone else's betrothed, Feng Ruqing said with smiling eyes. I didn't. Qin Fei's face was ghastly pale. Tears broke free from her eyes. Oh, then why do you keep hounding Nanxian? Feng Ruqing grinned. Her smiling face was like a demon's. Seeing this, Qin Fei could not help but take a few steps backward. Young Master Nanxian, I didn't hound you, I really didn't. Qin Fei hurriedly turned to look at Nanxian. It was true that Qin Fei was here to apologize to Feng Ruqing. She had even thought of making Feng Ruqing her bosom friend. Qin Fei only wanted to be Nanxian's concubine. She had never thought of taking Nanxian away from Feng Ruqing. What was wrong with that? What Qinga said is always right, Nanxian said as put his arm around Feng Ruqing, nonchalantly. Standing dazed, Qin Fei lowered her head to hide her sorrow. She then bowed deeply to Feng Ruqing. Young lady Feng, it is true that I am here to apologize to you. I know nothing about your past. I only got to know it from other people. I have wronged you and I truly have no idea what else I can do so that you will forgive me. However, I will try my best to clear the misunderstanding between us. If you still don't forgive me in the end, perhaps, I didn't do it well enough. As soon as Qin Fei finished her words, she straightened up. Her face took on a ghastly expression. She looked so fragile as if she would slump to the ground anytime soon. However, she stood resolutely just like a pine tree standing against the cold wind. Read more chapter on Novelful.me for extra chapters. Before Qin Fei turned around to leave, she glimpsed at Nanxian. His face was still emotionless. He was not in the slightest bit feeling sad for her. Originally, Qin Fei had thought that she could stay strong, but her heart was dripping blood as if it was torn apart by a ruthless hand. Just as Qin Fei had taken a few steps forward, her knees bent and she collapsed to the ground. Currently, her pale face was covered in blood. The people present only noticed that Qin Fei, who had always been elegant and noble, had fallen down and her face landing on the ground that was covered in the blood that Mu Ling had spat earlier. Simply no one noticed that Nanxian had quietly drawn his hand back. Fei, flying into great panic, when you rushed over to help Qin Fei up. Her heart was broken. Qin Fei's face was sickly pale. Her pride had taken a large blow. She was so ashamed of herself that she wanted to hide in a hole or far into the corners of the hall. At this moment, Qin Fei could vaguely recall that something had fallen on her calf just now and she had lost her balance after that. Lost in wonder, Qin Fei turned her head dazedly and set her eyes on Feng Ruqing's face. She could not help but wonder. Chapter 947. I want to stay in the Mu family. Is she the one who did this? It was true that jealousy was the most dangerous emotion on earth. Qin Fei only took a glance at Nanxian, but Feng Ruqing had actually broken Qin Fei's pride in public out of revenge. Qin Fei could not help but bite back her grievance. She knew that not only would no one believe her even if she told everyone what Feng Ruqing had done to her, but she would also even get the Qin family in trouble. Hence, Qin Fei did not say a word. She merely smiled and got up with Wen Yu's help. Father, mother, it's nothing. I have lost my balance and fallen down by accident. I am exhausted. I need to rest. Let's go back. All right. Wen Yu's eyes darkened. She knew that Qin Fei had truly fallen for Nanxian. Wen Yu would do anything to make Qin Fei's dream come true. Manor Master Mu, young Lady Suyi, second young Manor Master, and young Master Nanxian, my daughter is not feeling well. It's time for me to take my leave. Qin Li cupped his hand in respect. He purposely ignored Feng Ruqing. As soon as Qin Li finished his words, he turned to leave. Just as Qin Li was about to leave, he felt something hit him on his calf. As Qin Li was not as weak as Qin Fei, he did not fall down. However, his foot trembled and suddenly, he was down on one knee. Qin Li's face darkened. He quickly got up and left without uttering a word. He did not even ask who dealt him a blow. For Qin Li, his current situation was more embarrassing than falling on his face. No matter who had done that to him, Qin Li had lost his face. He did not want to stay there any longer. He was not capable of dealing with the stinging comments and humiliation. Qin Fei must have thought that I have done that to her from the way she looks at me. Feng Ruqing shrugged. I did that. Nanxian had made Feng Ruqing a scapegoat again. Well, Qin Li, read more chapter on novelful he disrespected you. Nanxian could feel that Qin Li had paid no heed to Feng Ruqing just now. Hence, he was just giving Qin Li a tick-off. Hearing this, Feng Ruqing did not know why she could feel a spark of warmth flowing into her heart. You homewrecker. Burning with rage, Ji Yuyi bit her scarf. Her eyes were full of resentment. No way. Nanxian had actually claimed all the credit. I must do that before Nanxian could react next time. I will be the one who takes all the credit then. After all those people had left, the feast went on as planned. Everyone enjoyed the delicacies and dared not say anything about what happened earlier. The banquet hall was peacefully silent. Me for extra chapters. Sister-in-law, it's great that you all could stay here to keep my father company. I will task the servant to get a room ready for you. Mu Qingyin smiled. As the old master had not seen Suyi for years, sure enough, he could not bear to part with her. Second uncle, could you take me and Nanxian around the manor? Feng Ruqing asked, after a while. Mu Qingyin did not say anything. He merely smiled and nodded. Qing'er, did you find anything wrong? Nanxian frowned as he asked. Only Nanxian, who stood next to Feng Ruqing, noticed that something was wrong with her. I am not sure. There are so many things that I am not sure about. I need to walk around here. All right, I will go with you. Nanxian held onto Feng Ruqing's hand gently. Just go ahead. No matter what you have found, I will handle it. Just do whatever you want. In the courtyard of the Mu family, Tan Shuangshuang was wandering anxiously in the manor. She was a nobody in the Mu family. Although she was pregnant, she was not invited to the feast. Chapter 948. I want to stay in the Mu family. This was a good opportunity for Tan Shuangshuang to improve her position in the Mu family. However, the entrance to the feast was strictly guarded. She did not even have a chance to break into it. Tan Shuangshuang gritted her teeth hard as she walked out of the chamber with mincing steps. Just as she left the chamber, many servants could be seen bustling around the manor. What has happened? Tan Shuangshuang asked one of the servants. Seeing Tan Shuangshuang, the The servant was a little impatient, her eyes were filled with disdain. However, the servant did not blatantly show her emotion. Manor Master and young Lady Qingyang got injured. We are busy. As soon as the servant finished her words, she walked to the main chamber with a pail of water in her hands. Mu Ling and Chen Qingyang got injured. Isn't it the old master's birthday today? How could the two of them get injured? Tan Shuangshuang frowned in bewilderment. Tan Shuangshuang quickly made up her mind and rushed toward the main chamber. Naturally, she was stopped at the entrance as Mu Ling did not want to see her. Tan Shuangshuang could not help but turn to leave. Suddenly, a familiar figure came into sight. Tan Shuangshuang paused, hastily. Feng Ruqing. Why is Feng Ruqing walking together with the Manor Master and second Manor Master? Why is the State Preceptor Nanxian here? Tan Shuangshuang's heart twitched with anger, her eyes were blazing with fury. Suddenly, something crossed her mind. Her heart skipped a beat. She clenched her fists tightly. No way. Nanxian is the State Preceptor of Liu Yun Kingdom. If he is part of the Mu family Mu Nanxian, why did he go to Liu Yun Kingdom to be the State Preceptor? Read more chapter on novel full. Other than the reason that came to her mind, Tan Shuangshuang could not figure out why Nanxian was here. Tan Shuangshuang loosened her fists as she walked up to Feng Ruqing with a faint smile on her face. Feng Ruqing. A familiar voice sounded. Feng Ruqing turned her head sideways only to see Tan Shuangshuang. At this time, Feng Ruqing was still calm and very much at ease. Feng Ruqing, I have never thought that I would meet you so soon. Me for extra chapters. Simply no one knew if it was because of the fact that Nanxian was here that Tan Shuangshuang was no longer as haughty as she was when she met Feng Ruqing a few days before. Tan Shuangshuang smiled gently. Her pregnant belly was more obvious now. Before Feng Ruqing could respond, Tan Shuangshuang turned to look at Nanxian. State Preceptor, it's been a long while since we met. Are you here to attend the old master's birthday feast? Tan Shuangshuang asked, probingly. A lot of ladies liked Nanxian in Liu Yun Kingdom. However, Tan Shuangshuang was an exception. Everyone in this realm knew that Nanxian was so ethereal and otherworldly, placing him beyond anybody's reach. Hence, many ladies could not help holding back their desire. Although Tan Shuangshuang did not fall for Nanxian, she was stunned by such a devastatingly charming young master. It was only natural that many ladies out there were dying for him. Xiao Qing, Nanxian subconsciously called out to the azure snake. The next second, he suddenly recalled that the azure snake had left him a long time ago and had not returned since. Qing'er, who is she? Nanxian looked at Feng Ruqing. She is Mu Ling's concubine. Feng Ruqing was dumbfounded. Nanxian was terribly bad at recognizing faces. I see, Nanxian said, blandly. He did not even spare a second glance at Tan Shuangshuang. Is the State Preceptor part of the Mu family Mu Nanxian? Why does Feng Ruqing address Mu Ling by his name? Tan Shuangshuang was dumbstruck by Feng Ruqing's words. Chapter 949, I want to stay in the Mu family. Feng Ruqing is so disrespectful toward Mu Ling. Is she not afraid of being banished from the Mu family? State Preceptor, the name of Mu Ling's eldest son is also Nanxian. What a coincidence. Are you Mu Ling's eldest son, Mu Nanxian? Tan Shuangshuang faked a smile. Nanxian stared at Tan Shuangshuang coldly. The one thing he hated the most was when someone mentioned him as being part of the Mu family. Young lady Xiao Qing and Nanxian, please ignore her. Let's continue walking. Mu Qingyan's gaze swept past Tan Shuangshuang and fell on Feng Ruqing and Nanxian. A faint smile could be seen playing on his lips. All right, second uncle. Second uncle? Tan Shuangshuang's facial expression shifted a little. Feng Ruqing had addressed Mu Ling by his name, but she addressed Mu Qingyan as second uncle? Apparently, the State Preceptor was Mu Nanxian. By the time Tan Shuangshuang came back to her senses, Feng Ruqing had left together with Mu Qingyan and Nanxian. Tan Shuangshuang was the only one left, standing rooted to the spot. Her eyes were still fixed upon Feng Ruking's back. Her face took on a ghastly expression. In Liu Yun Kingdom, Feng Ruqing was the princess who stood aloof from the masses. Tan Shuangshuang had always been bowing down to her. Now that Tan Shuangshuang had reached Tianshan Manor after going through so much trouble, she still had to bow down to Feng Ruqing. Tan Shuangshuang was Mu Ling's wife, but Feng Ruqing had actually hooked up with the young master of the Mu family. No way. Feng Ruqing was married to Liu Yuchen before this. Mu Ling would never accept Feng Ruqing to be his daughter-in-law. Even if she could step into the Mu family, she would only be a concubine, just like me. Tan Shuangshuang shook her head. Once Tan Shuangshuang gave birth to a son, her status in the Mu family would be upgraded. Moreover, if her son was talented, she could definitely replace Chen Qingyang. On top of that, even if Tan Shuangshuang was merely a concubine, she was Nanxian's mother. Her child was the young master of the Mu family. In other words, Tan Shuangshuang would become Feng Ruqing's mother-in-law. Tan Shuangshuang had a higher rank than Feng Ruqing in the Mu family. Who did Feng Ruqing think she was? Read more chapter on Novelful. By then, Feng Ruqing must do whatever Tan Shuangshuang had instructed her to. Even if Tan Shuangshuang wanted Feng Ruqing to serve her drinks, Feng Ruqing must not refuse. Thinking of this, Tan Shuangshuang was overjoyed. The corners of her lips curved into a smile. As Mu Ling had treated Chen Qingyang so well, Tan Shuangshuang had totally forgotten about the difference between the son of a concubine and the principal wife. She had always thought that there was no difference between a concubine and the principal wife in the Mu family. The same went for their children. However, little did Tan Shuangshuang know, Mu Ling only cared for Chen Qingyang. Although Tan Shuangshuang was a concubine, like Chen Qingyang, she was no match for Chen Qingyang. Outside the courtyard, peach trees were in full bloom. Me for extra chapters. This is where you and the old master stay? Feng Ruqing paused as she frowned. I have moved here when you left as I don't want to stay in the main manor. Some time ago, my father moved in here and refused to leave since. Mu Qingyin nodded slightly. You have poor health. The old master's health is even worse. This place is not suitable for both of you. You may want to pack your stuff and move out of here. Stunned, Mu Qingyin stared at Feng Ruqing's dark face. Shock crept into his eyes. Why? This place is too deserted and shady. It's not a good place for recuperation. Let's go. I want to take a look at the place where the old master stayed earlier. All right. Mu Qingyin regained his composure and walked forward together with Feng Ruqing. The main manor was much brighter and spacious than the courtyard that Mu Qingyin was staying in. Just as Feng Ruqing stepped into the main manor, her face darkened, hiding a storm brewing within her. Chapter 950, Spectral Flower. Young Lady Xiaoqing, what's wrong with these? Mu Qingyin asked, bewildered. He did not know what had actually happened. Feng Ruqing did not respond. All of a sudden, she took a few steps forward and plucked the flowers from the flower bed. Who sowed these flowers? Chen Qingyang. Mu Qingyin's face darkened a few shades. Chen Qingyang? Second uncle, remove these flowers from the roots by tomorrow. Then, take them to a deserted place and burn them. Feng Ruqing sneered. Seeing Feng Ruqing's reaction, something crossed Mu Qingyin's mind. Young Lady Xiaoqing, what's wrong with these flowers? Both Grandmaster Qian Kuan and Grandmaster Hai Rong were here previously, but they could not figure out what kind of flowers are these. Grandmaster Qian Kuan had even brought one of it back to study. In the end, he found that it is nothing but an ordinary spirit herb. Feng Ruqing's face was cold and dark. These spirit herbs should have gone extinct years ago. Back then, all the kingdoms in Kangyu mainland were not as vulnerable as they were today. Yunchuan Empire had once dominated the entire Kangyu mainland. These flowers were brought in by the emperor of the Yunchuan Empire. These flowers had nearly triggered horrifying devastation to this realm. As the emperor of Yunchuan Empire feared that he would go down in history as a byword of infamy, he had burned all these flowers and decreed to wipe off these flowers from the historical records. The official who took charge of the historical records had since wiped off the name and detail of these flowers from the records to ensure that the emperor's reputation was well protected. If the future generation happened to get hold of the flower or if there was any form of destruction because of this, it had nothing to do with Yunchuan Empire. Since the flower was not available in the historical records, how did Feng Ruqing knew about this? That was because it was all jotted down in the book that Fu Chen had given to her. Back then, the Divine Herbs sect was the only force on a par with Yunchuan Empire. Read more chapter on novel full. No one dared to say anything about these flowers as they did not want to mess with the emperor of Yunchuan Empire. However, the Divine Herbs sect was not bothered by Yunchuan Empire and had recorded details of this species of flower in a book. Hence, Feng Ruqing could recognize the flowers from the moment she saw them. Spectral flower. The seeds of these flowers must be sown on a mass grave in order to absorb the dead spiritual qi. It would only bloom after many years. Me for extra chapters. Once the plant bloomed, it would never wither. The only thing that could ruin the spectral flower was fire. Also, cut down all the trees here tomorrow. Don't move in here until all the qi has dispersed. What's wrong with all these? Nanxian put his arm around Feng Ruqing's waist. These trees are called Thousand Vines Orchid. If one walked near the trees after eating the bloody lotus lingji, the deadly aura emanated from the trees could cause drowsiness and loss of consciousness. Moreover, the victim's memory would gradually worsen over time and start to behave like a child until he dies. Grandmaster Qian Kuan has shown me the spirit herbs that the old master consumed before. The bloody lotus lingji is part of the spirit herbs that the old master takes. However, the whole process takes a very long time. The stronger the person is, the higher his resistance to the deadly aura. Even if his brain function has deteriorated, his strength could still stop part of the deadly aura. Hence, the old master is still alive after so many years. Hearing this, Mu Qingyan's face darkened. He clenched his fists tightly. His breathing became rapid and shallow. His eyes were blazing with murderous intent. Chen Qingyang. She has been harming the old master. Hence, here comes the spectral flowers. If I am not mistaken, these spectral flowers are newly sown, Feng Ruqing continued. You are right. Chen Qingyang has brought these flowers back to the manor before the old master's strength declined. She said that the aura emanated from these flowers could calm the old master's emotion. Since these flowers are spirit herbs and they are also very beautiful, we just leave them here. Suddenly, Mu Qingyan looked up at Feng Ruqing as if something had crossed his mind. Chapter 951. Spectral Flower 2-inch. These spectral flowers had absorbed the spiritual qi from the old master's dantian. Hence, his strength has depleted over time. Feng Ruqing reached out to pluck a spectral flower. Why did these flowers not affect us? Mu Qingyan asked after staying silent for a while. It's because these spectral flowers fall asleep during the daytime. They would only wake up at night. Did Chen Qingyang prohibit anyone from visiting the old master at night? She claims that the old master is in bad health. Hence, she does not allow anyone to visit him at night. She has even tasked some guards to guard the old master's chamber. Mu Qingyan's face grew even darker. These flowers are planted at the door of the old master's chamber. Naturally, they are absorbing spiritual qi from the old master. They are now full after having taken in the old master's spiritual qi and need some time for digestion. That is why you all are still safe and sound. Feng Ruqing sneered. The spectral flowers needed time for digestion. It was just like humans who stop eating when they had had enough food. Chen Qingyan's mother had killed my mother. Now, Chen Qingyang wants to harm my father, too. It is no wonder that my father's health has been declining day after day. He has moved to my courtyard as Chen Qingyang kept pestering him and he could not stand her. Hearing this, Mu Qingyan exploded with fury. Ever since my father has moved into my courtyard, his health has greatly improved. However, we have never thought about this. We only thought that his health improved as he has gotten rid of Chen Qingyang. It was a pity that Mu Qingyan's brother Mu Ling had always thought that Chen Qingyang was innocent, just a harmless little bunny, and loved her with all his heart. He cared for her so much that he was so afraid that he would hurt her. On the contrary, Suyi had treated Mu Ling so well, but he mercilessly left her. No matter what, neither thousand vines, orchid nor spectral flower should exist in this realm. Feng Ruking's eyes were icy cold. The spectral flowers were extremely dreadful. Back then, these spectral flowers had nearly wiped out the whole empire. Qian Kuan and Hai Rong had no idea about the spectral flower. Naturally, they knew nothing about it. They could feel the spiritual qi of the spectral flower as the flower had absorbed so much of the old master's spiritual qi. The spiritual qi had concealed the dreadful aura of the flower. Xiao Qing, since Grandmaster Qian Kuan has taken one stalk of the spectral flower away with him, how did he do it? Read more chapter on Novelful. He has put it into a spirit herb box. That should be fine. The spectral flower can never live without soil. Grandmaster Qian Kuan should be alright. Otherwise, he would have already noticed that there was something wrong with the spectral flower. Feng Ruqing shook her head. Since Grandmaster Qian Kun's strength was not affected, he had only studied the spectral flower and did not sow it in the soil. Me for extra chapters. Fortunately, Grandmaster Qian Kuan was the only one who had plucked these flowers and not any lady out there. The spectral flower was extremely stunning, like a blood-red rose. Many ladies out there who could not resist the temptation would have plucked the flower and sowed it in their gardens. Mu Qingyan heaved a sigh of relief. He did not want anyone to get hurt because of the old master. Thinking of the things that Chen Qingyang had done, Mu Qingyan's eyes turned colder. A glimmer of vicious light sparkled in his eyes. I must let my brother know about this. You can do so, but I am sure that he will not trust you. Feng Ruqing smiled, blandly. I will get him to come here at night. He will know what has actually happened when his strength depletes. Mu Qingyan's face darkened. Chapter 952. Spectral Flower 3. Chen Qingyang might tell Mu Ling that she knew nothing about these spectral flowers, and that she has sown these flowers as they are spirit herbs and pleasant to the eyes. She could also add that she was deceived into sowing these flowers. Everything she has done, she did for the old master. So, do you think Mu Ling would trust you or Chen Qingyang? Naturally, Mu Qingyan knew that Mu Ling would trust Chen Qingyang. Second uncle, actually, we don't have to prove to the people of the Mu family. Whether or not Mu Ling trusts us has nothing to do with us. When I am annoyed, I would vent my anger on them. When I lose my temper, I would beat them up a little every day and beat them hard every 10 days. Even if they escaped from the Mu family, I will take them back and whack them. Feng Ruqing walked slowly toward Mu Qingyan. Are you a demon? Dumbfounded, Mu Qingyan's face twitched slightly. Nanxian's wife was far more vicious than anyone of the Mu family. However, she could never make Mu Ling and Chen Qingyang suffer if she was not vicious. Second uncle, I would never hold back on my grievances. If anyone wrongs me, I will fight back no matter who he is. The same goes for all of you. You don't have to hold back any grievances. You could reason with them. Feng Ruqing grinned. Mu Ling and Chen Qingyang had always been treating me with courtesy and respect. However, I could not bear seeing the way Chen Qingyang treats sister-in-law. Hence, I have always gone against her. Now that, Mu Qingyan shook his head. Mu Qingyan paused for a while, his eyes were blazing with murderous intent. She has done something so terrible to my father. I will never let her off so easily. Even if you do kill Chen Qingyang, what's next? Mu Ling still loves her, he will never forget her for the rest of his life. On the contrary, he would only hate you. Feng Ruqing smiled, faintly. Dumbstruck by Feng Ruqing's words, Mu Qingyan looked up at her. Although Mu Qingyan barely knew Feng Ruqing, he could feel that Feng Ruqing would not relent until she had had her way. Not only has Mu Ling harmed me, but he has also done harm to Suyi and Nanxian. I will never let him off so easily. I don't want him to miss Chen Qingyang for his whole life. He must not die peacefully and must live a life full of remorse, pain, and agony. Feng Ruqing broke into a smile. Moreover, I have said that neither thousand vines, orchid nor spectral flower should exist in this realm. Someone must have given Chen Qingyang these things. Hence, Chen Qingyang must not die before we find the mastermind behind this. Second uncle, you can do whatever you want to Chen Qingyang after that. Me for extra chapters. Read more chapter on novel full at this time. Feng Ruqing recalled the things that the old lady of the Luo family had said. Her old friend was forced to go to a place where there was no way out. If Feng Ruqing was not mistaken, both Thousand Vines Orchid and Spectral Flower were brought out from that place. Hence, Feng Ruqing must find out the mastermind behind this. All right. Mu Qingyin took a deep breath as he suppressed the murderous intent in his heart. I will tell Suyi about this. You may want to get some people here to get rid of all these plants tomorrow. Fortunately, no one has ever been here at night. Otherwise, these flowers would have taken in their spiritual qi too. Oh yeah, second uncle. There is a servant in the place where I have stayed before this. Her name is Xiao Ya. Could you please send someone to bring her here? Don't worry, I will do that. It's getting late. These spectral flowers have been starving for quite some time. If we are still here by the time they wake, our spiritual qi would become their food. Chapter 953, Spectral Flower 4. Feng Ruqing glanced at the sky with a dazzling smile on her face and then stretched her body lazily. Nanxian, let's go. Nanxian's face was still cold and nonchalant. Before he left, his indifferent gaze swept past the spectral flowers. No one noticed that as Nanxian's gaze fell on the spectral flowers, the flowers quivered in the wind like a bunch of trembling cabbages. The next day, Chen Qingyin's face was wrapped up in a few layers of bandage, making her look like a big, fat bun. Even so, one could easily see that her face was red and swollen. Lady Qingyang. Oh, what a calamity. A servant rushed through the door, panting. Just now, the second manor master and Lady Suyi led a group of people to the old master's chamber to uproot all the flowers and trees. What did you just say? Trembling, Chen Qingyang had nearly fallen off the bed. She held on to the servant's shoulders tightly. Her grip was so hard that the servant had nearly burst into tears from the pain. What did you just say? What had Nan Suyi and Mu Qingyin done? Chen Qingyang was petrified. If Chen Qingyin's face was not wrapped up in so many layers of bandage, one could have seen the anger and fear on her face. Naturally, it was neither Suyi nor Mu Qingyin that she feared, but someone that no one in the Mu family knew of. Read more chapter on novelful. Lady Suyi and the second manor master have brought a group of people to uproot the trees and flowers in the old master's chamber. The servant bit her lower lip. I am going to the old master's chamber now. Get the manor master to go there now. Hurry up. Chen Qingyin's body shook violently. A glimmer of vicious light flashed in her eyes. Mu Ling must go there quickly. Otherwise, it would be too late. Panicking greatly, Chen Qingyang rushed out of the chamber. She ran way too fast and had left all the servants behind her. From afar, Chen Qingyang saw Suyi, who was directing the people to cut down the trees, and Feng Ruqing, who was eating grapes while watching them by the side. Mu Qingyin stood rooted next to Suyi while Nanxian's eyes were fixed upon Feng Ruqing. Me for extra chapters. All of them did not even spare a glance at Chen Qingyang, who had rushed over. Sister Suyi, what are you doing? Suppressing the anxiety growing in her heart, Chen Qingyin's eyes swept past the people who were uprooting the flowers. Her face was ghastly pale. Fortunately, Qingyang reached there in time. The spectral flowers were not all uprooted yet. There were still a few of them left. Otherwise, Chen Qingyang was finished. That person would not have let her off so easily. Stop it. This is the old master's chamber. Who do you think you are to do this? All the servants paused and glanced at Suyi uncertainly. Keep going. Suyi raised her brow. Hearing this, the servants continued uprooting the spectral flowers. Chen Qingyin's face that was wrapped up in bandage contorted with rage. She clenched her fists tightly and held back the urge to hit those servants. Chen Qingyang had always been treating the servants so well. However, they had actually taken Suyi's side now. Little did Chen Qingyang know that these servants were actually panicking. Yesterday night, it had been widely spread in the Mu family that the Mu Ling and Chen Qingyang were beaten up and that Nanxian was behind this. No one was not afraid of death. Hence, no matter how well Chen Qingyang had treated the servants, they dared not go against Suyi. They would rather go against Chen Qingyang. That was the grim reality of life in the Mu family. Sister Suyi, I have no idea what I have done wrong to you that has made you so mad at me. I have sown all these plants for the old master's health. If you are mad at me, you could just vent your anger on me. Don't vent it on these spirit herbs. Chen Qingyang was flustered. She looked extremely pathetic. She quickly turned to look at Suyi. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.